Welcome to another episode of Game Boy Roulette, where we take a look at randomly chosen games from the Game Boy library. Super Mario Land! Wow, this Mario guy is everywhere. For the second episode in a row, the randomizer has given us one of the most well-known games on the Game Boy. Super Mario Land is the fourth highest-selling game on the system, with nearly 19 million copies sold. That does have something to do with the fact that the game came bundled in with some versions of the Game Boy, and was in fact the first game ever released for the system. The point is, Super Mario Land, along with Pokemon and Tetris, is one of the games synonymous with the Game Boy. The game featured a lot of firsts for the Mario franchise. It was the first handheld Mario game, obviously. It was the first appearance of Princess Daisy, who would go on to objectively be the best princess of the franchise. It was the first game designed not by Shigeru Miyamoto, but by the man who created the Game Boy, Gunpei Yokoi. And it was the first in the Mario Land series, which would eventually lead to the creation of Wario. But there's a much bigger question to answer. Does it hold up? Because while puzzle games are timeless, platformers tend to not age as well. What has aged well is one of the absolute best covers the Game Boy has ever had. The action, a look at some of the level styles and enemies, it's Nintendo box art at its finest. Mario just looks pissed though. That's not something that happens on most covers. Usually he's happy to just be here. So we know this is an important game, but how well does it hold up? We're adventuring to Super Mario Land. Super Mario Land, the very first Game Boy game. There's what would become Mario, kind of, up there. And if you don't press anything, the demo starts. See? It's always weird to me that there's no music on this title screen when Mario would eventually be known for its music. But you want some good music? Here we go. Hey, they stole the Game Boy Roulette music. Welcome to Mario Land. Just in case you've never seen it, it is the most basic style of Mario. A to jump. B to run faster. You can go down pipes. But there are some various changes. As you can see, the Goombas are a little under-designed. Rather than one-ups, it's hearts. Well, still one-ups. Also, the Fire Flower acts differently. It's a bouncy ball, and it can collect coins. And another difference, Koopas explode, just like in real life. Watch. I think this is the only time a Mario game has had that mechanic, except for, well, they put it into Mario Maker 2, but, like, no other game hasn't. Oh, right, that thing. And then, of course, Star. With different music. And the last difference, rather than a flag at the end, it's a series of bonus rooms. Go on the top one for a minigame. And I've just explained everything about Mario Land to you. Hey. Oh, 2 1-ups. I have played this game so many times, I could probably speedrun it. Although that's not hard. And this is where we start getting into the discussion, because again, I've already explained everything about the game, so let's get into some details. This game is 12 levels long, and each one is pretty short. The speedrun world record for it is 12 minutes. It was when they were still, you know, figuring out everything about the Game Boy. So, things hadn't been perfected yet. So this was a ridiculously small game. So the graphics are simple and everything, but you can kind of forgive that. Now hit me with that music. Oh, and there's secrets like this. Don't mind me. Piranha Plants in this game look weird. I believe there's a path up here. No. I believe there's a Sphinx in here. Yep. There it is. This song got remixed in Smash Brothers. No, my ride! Aww. I missed out on a bonus room up there. See, here's the thing about this game. The physics are a little weird. They're very... I would argue this is the stiffest Mario game ever made. Mario stops much quicker than in other games. You kind of are committed to your jump a little bit. You can... Like, in most Mario games, you can rock back and forth a little when jumping. In this one, barely. You can see how stiffly, and this is me rocking it. Uh-oh. Oh, I activated the boss. It's the Sphinx! Okay, good. So, in a lot of ways, the game is, you know, revolutionary, but I don't think it's held up as well as most Mario games. Oh, it's the end. There's Daisy. You can tell by the way that that's her. Thank you, Mario. Oh, a daisy. Surprise. Daisy was a fly the whole time. Given its length, it should be one of the easiest Mario games. By the way, Mario was transported here by UFO. Like, they had not much space to work with, so they pushed this game as far as it could go. Like, I'm surprised the cartridge doesn't emit smoke when you're playing it. But it's also clear, like I said, they hadn't really gotten control down well. There also is no Bowser in this game. Instead, the final boss, and I don't think we're going to see it in this video, but the final boss is Tatanga the Spaceman. You know, that famous character. I believe he would return for Mario Land 2, I want to say? Yeah. Super Mario Land 2 is, I think, a much better game than this. It looks better, it plays better, it has a much bigger variety of levels, a lot more interesting gameplay styles. This game, like, looking back, there's so much of it that didn't stick. Whoops. Just like I didn't stick that landing. The bouncing fire flower didn't stick. Koopa Troopas exploding didn't stick. A ton of enemies never returned. Really, the main thing that this game introduced was Daisy. It's a shame. I honestly wouldn't mind some of these enemies returning. I mean, maybe they've made cameos in other games, but I don't remember. Like, off the top of my head. And I'm gonna play one more level because I do want to show one style of mechanic. Oh, and here it is. Speedrunning tactics. You see, not only do you have platforming levels, but you have two shmups. Yep, Mario's a shooter now. One is in the submarine and one is in the sky. In fact, the last level of the game is a shoot-'em-up. So it's funny. It's an influential game, no doubt. And it's, you know, it's a Mario game, but I'd honestly say it's one of the weaker Mario games ever made. One of, like, the weaker core Mario games, anyway. And, you know, most of that has to do with the fact that the Game Boy was new. They were still learning all this stuff, you know? Even though Nintendo was making it, they were also still getting a handle on their own technology. The boss. A seahorse and also a ball. We did it. And that was half of the game. And now Moai statues and totem poles. It's an odd game, and in many ways it doesn't really hold up that well, but it's charming. And it certainly plays better than most games that quote-unquote haven't held up well. But I think in many ways, like I said, it's one of the worst Mario games. Still means it's pretty decent. It's just weird. Really weird. Part of me is glad that Mario graduated from a land to a world. Super Mario Land is an iconic game. It was Mario's first handheld game and the first Game Boy game ever, and it was certainly one of the more odd games in the series. The idea of being able to take a game anywhere you want, let alone Mario, was such a novelty that it remains a well-known game. Pretty much anyone who has played the Game Boy has played Super Mario Land. It's a classic, it's well-known, and apart from few other games, it is arguably the most well-known Game Boy game ever. But at the same time, it hasn't aged that well. The controls are really stiff, much more so than any other game in the Mario franchise, so the game is definitely harder to control than most of his other adventures. Also, it's tough to overlook the length of the game. With 12 levels, each one being able to be beaten in just a minute or two, it's a short sit. And with pretty much one path to go and almost no secrets, there's not a whole lot of meat to this game. Don't get me wrong, Super Mario Land is a pretty good game and an important one for Nintendo, but it's definitely flawed and very short. It was a great introduction for handheld Mario, but many other games have long since surpassed it. But then again, it did give us Daisy, so we can forgive all of its flaws. Seriously, Daisy is the best. And that's all for another episode of Game Boy Roulette. Make sure to subscribe so you can follow the series as we continue to dig through the Game Boy vault. I'm Brian J, and I'll see you next time.